Okay, I want to welcome everybody today to the Winnipeg Experiencers Groups. And tonight we have a special guest all the way from Minnesota, probably about 10 miles from my house. A very special man in my life that I consider my brother. He even helped me move after I had COVID. And I will let him explain his experiences. And I wish that everybody would keep their mics off because sometimes it's hard for the speaker to be heard if somebody's running a radio or music or TV or the dog's barking. So, David, would you like to tell people a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, your family, and stuff, and then we'll go into your experiences of UFOs and orbs and psychic abilities.
Okay. All right. My name is David Lydell. I was born here in Minnesota, St. Paul, Minnesota. I've lived in St. Paul, Minneapolis, South Minneapolis, North Minneapolis. I was born in 1964. I'm a 60s
Oh,
baby.
Thank you, David.
Yeah, so the tail end of the boomers. So, but done a few things in my life. Right now, I'm on the current job. I've been working in my current job for 37 years. Started in 1986. Back then it was $3.75 an hour. Big money, big money. Before that, I danced professionally with Kirk Johnson. He was Prince's best friend and drummer for a long time. We had our own professional group aside from what they were doing. So I did that for many years. I'm not going to mention one artist that we opened for because of his past, but we did open for Ray Charles, and we did open for Weird Al Yankovic, who was one of the nicest people you ever want to meet. He was one out of all the stars and celebrities I met. He was one of the nicest people I'd ever met. My mother and father were divorced probably when I was 1 year old. So I had two separate households, which if you want to think about one side, now that I've been connecting the dots as far as the experiencer part of it, that would be on my father's side. And then on my mother's side was the paranormal stuff. So yeah, and I'm married. I have a wife. Wife number two, I have my ex-wife, and I have my wife, my current wife, and I have two older daughters, 29, 27. I have two grandchildren, and all my daughters are psychic. The second oldest, who's the most powerful one, denies it out of all of them, except for being in areas where she needs to use it. She uses it, but she doesn't use it. My first oldest, she does tarot reading. She's turned into channeling and tarot reading, so she does that. I have a 7-year-old. She is doing her own thing. She's very powerful, and yeah, I'll talk about that too. But the latest thing that she did that was crazy. My wife's family lives in South Dakota, so we go out there and visit the family. So if you go into South Dakota, there's I think the Missouri River that you cross, and there's a statue at a rest stop called Destiny Statue at that rest stop. And so we go there every year and stop there because my daughter wants to stop there and see the statue. Well, this last time we went last summer, we stopped there, and then she said, Dad, you and Mom get away. I have to talk to her alone. And I'm like, okay. But I sensed at that river, feel a conjunction between, like, empathically, I feel you can feel the two nations that were separated by that river. You can feel that energy. There's a ton of indigenous energy around that river. I can feel it. And I think that she was channeling it. And so we said, what did she say? She said, she loves the quilt around her. It's a star quilt. I know my wife, she's 25% indigenous. She's a Lakota. She said it's a star quilt. And so my great grandmother used to make star quilts too, but she said her mother made it for her. She loves her quilt. And we're like, okay, that's threw us all off for a minute. But yeah, my mother's always been very psychic. That's probably where a lot of the psychic energy came from. My father was always very, um, he always said that he was talking to interdimensional beings. And he said he always told me his go-to line was, if they need a ship to get here, they're not advanced enough for me. He always said that. So, but my mother's always psychic, which was hard growing up with the psychic mother, because you couldn't get away with anything. My mother knew everything that was going on with me. She always busted me. I was like, God, how do you know this stuff? But she knew it before it even happened. So yeah.
So your mother was an empath then?
Yes. Yeah, she was. Yep, she did. She was very, very psychic. Yeah, she knew a lot of things that were going on. A lot of people revolved their lives around her because she would give them answers and stuff to what they wanted to know and questions in their lives.
So do you want to start talking about some of your experiences with orbs and crafts that you've seen? And David also has some videos and pictures. So do you want to kind of describe what started happening, when it started happening?
Okay, so when I thought back, I've seen things in the sky, especially when I lived in St. Paul. But people always say they're satellites, so you always think that they're satellites. And I think the first thing that I saw when I thought back to when I first saw something in the sky was like 2014. And I remember we were at the Taste of Minnesota was going on at that time. And that was the last year before they stopped. That was the year before they stopped doing the Taste of Minnesota. And I remember sitting outside with family members, and I look up and I go, see that? And it was a silver object, and they kept darting in and out around the cloud. Any cloud that was in that space above us, it would sit there and would just peek out. And then when the clouds would disappear, it would go straight up. Then when the clouds came back, it would come back down. And I'm going, anybody see that? And they're like, oh, it's probably some kind of a weather balloon or something, because they're trying to keep a surveillance on the Taste of Minnesota, stuff like that. So that's the first experience that I when I look back on, when I saw something that was really, that you couldn't say, hey, that's a satellite. So the first thing that I saw that was odd was the August 4th of 2017. That was the one that introduced me to the whole new world of close encounters. So that's the first time. So that night I was going to work, like I always do. Leaving my house, it was in August. It was so hot. I remember it was really hot that day. And so I'm leaving. And as I'm leaving my house, take a left, and I go to the roundabout, and I wait for two cars to go by. And so I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I see something out of my peripheral vision, and I look up, and what I first thought was a helicopter, because I grew up in St. Paul, Minneapolis International Airport. You always see, and especially St. Paul, you see a lot of helicopters go by and everything else. And so I look up, and this Audi was black. I couldn't make out the form of it, and it was bright orange. And I say the orange was a beautiful orange. I say the closest thing that you could get to that kind of orange is when you look at the bottom of a fire pit, and you see that deep, deep orange in there. That's what was it was that kind of orange, and that's all you saw. And I kept staring at it, going, I'm waiting for flashing lights. I'm saying, that's not a helicopter. And so then I'm looking at it. So then I'm like, oh my God, that's a UFO. So I reach over my seat, and I grab my cell phone, which was an iPhone. It was a Samsung 6 at that time, and I'm technically challenged. This was my first smartphone, which I hated because I didn't really know a whole lot about it. So I jump out, I take a few pictures, which I'll share. One of the pictures I have for sure. Well, the other one didn't turn up, but one picture did show up. And so then I took a picture of it as it crossed. So if you want to think, it's like 20 yards away from me. So I'm in the roundabout. It's right across, and it's coming across the community center and going across the townhomes, and it's moving east to west. And so I'm watching this, and then I'm looking at the cars going by, and I'm going, do you people see this? How do you not see this? It's bright orange, but they just kept driving and went on about their business. And so then I went around the roundabout, and I said, well, I got to get more pictures of this thing. I got to get more videos or something of this thing. So I took off, and I started to chase it. I stopped, and I looked and seen it going across the townhomes. And I said, I should get more pictures. And I'm like, no, I gotta get something better than this. So I drove down and one street into my street, and then I took a left and I chased it down about a mile. And so then I noticed it stopped and hovered for a quick second. So I pulled over my car. I jumped out and I took a quick picture of it. It was right above me. I took a picture of it. And then it took off. And I took the video of that, and I'll show you that video of that. But so then I'm like, wow, this is crazy. And I'm thinking that at that time, I'm thinking that, okay, people always want evidence. You want pictures, you want videos, So, but I didn't, at that point, I hadn't looked at it because I had to get to work. So I was on my way to work. So I'm like going, I don't have time to look at it. So I remember saying, wow, and seeing that. And I sat in the car and I got ready to leave, and both sides of my brain were hurting so bad. I mean, it was so much pain. I was like, what is going on? Because I had my head up too far, looking up. I'm like, I don't know. So, and I got the cold chills, real bad cold chills. And so then I started driving to work. Now I'm traveling east. Oh, and when it took off, it went traveling west to east, but when it took off, it went southeast. It went southeast. And so then when I got my car, I drove. I didn't see it anymore. And as I'm driving down, heading east, I look over the highway, and there's two real large helicopters. And I don't remember. They weren't Blackhawks. They were some kind of different helicopters. And what I noticed for sure, the most standout thing of the helicopters is that the tail sections were very lit up. They were lit up bright. And over there's like a refinery area. And so as I'm watching them, as I'm driving to, which would be highway, I'm heading down 42, which I was driving to highway 52. There was one helicopter that was circling around the area close to the foundry, and then the other helicopter was circling too. And then it took off. The one that was circling, the second one took off and headed towards what I thought was more like the direction towards the airport. And the first one, it had a light looking on the ground. I'm sitting there going, what are you looking on the ground for? Because it's gone. I'm like, what are you looking for? That thing is gone. I mean, I don't get it. So got on the freeway. I looked over, still see the helicopter across that side of the freeway as I entered 52. And as I went further down 52 heading to work, the helicopter started to cross the highway in front of me. And so I'm like, okay. And so it crossed the highway. So then, okay, so I'm heading to where 52 leads to 494, turns into 694, and that's where I'm headed to work. And so as I'm going down, enter onto 494, which turns into 694, I cross a bridge which is called the Wakota Bridge. And as I cross that bridge, I see the helicopters coming down the river on the bridge. And I'm like, now I'm getting nervous. Now I'm like, uh-oh. Yeah. Okay. So I'm like, okay, so I'll just drive. So I drove. And so I drove down Interstate 694. And as I'm driving, heading north now, I look over, as I'm driving, look over, and I can see the helicopters following me. It's parallel to my direction. I'm like, oh man. I'm like, okay, what did I get myself into? I'm really nervous now. Now I'm nervous. It's one thing that it was looking around like, why is it following me? Because when I stopped back, when it stopped and hovered back, a street we call Connemara, it was a fire station and a water tower. I looked back to see if anybody's following me, I didn't see anybody. So I didn't think anybody would be following me. But like I said, the helicopter is running parallel in my direction. So then I get off on the exit that I get off on to go to work, and I look, and it's still coming, and it started to come towards me, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So now I'm really freaking. I'm looking behind me. I'm trying to see if any cars are following me. I'm thinking I'm gonna pull up in my work at work, and some black car is gonna pull up and they're gonna snatch me up, and I'm gonna take me somewhere. And so I go into work. Like I said, my head is still hurting. I still have cold chills. I go into work. I have to get in and punch in. I didn't see the helicopter anymore. From what I saw, it looked like it was turning around and going back the last time I saw it. So, and that's when I really started getting nervous, thinking, wow, they must be really behind me now. They know my location. They're coming to get me. But so I went into work, punched in. There was a janitor guy at the time And this time I pulled my phone out. I said, I think I caught some pictures of a UFO I saw and a video. And so I started showing the pictures. And he said he got the cold chills. He's like, hey man, I just saw a podcast on this. You're freaking me out. I don't want to see anymore. So he took off. He took off. He said, I don't want to see anymore. I'm like, okay. And I was really scared at this time with this video, the video and the pictures, because the phone that I had did not have an SD card for backup. So I'm really worried. So as the night go on, I'm trying to concentrate. And I'm freaking out after everything that happened. When you go at my work, I was stocking shelves and doing overnight managing. And I had to go outside to get a dumpster to dump cardboard in. And I was freaked out. I was so scared out there and get the bin. I was scared to death. I'm going, I don't want to go out here. What if it's out there? Because this is the first time I really thought about something. You know, when you're looking at, and people always ask, how do you know? Because you've been looking at the sky your whole life. You've seen helicopters, you've seen stuff. But when you look and you see this, you know you're seeing something that doesn't fit what you're seeing. So you're like, and if you're going, what the heck is that? That means something. It's not that it's obviously a UFO. That's something that's not supposed to be in airspace. And let alone for us at Empath, you get the vibration and the frequency from it, and you know you're dealing with something that's not. So I did. I went outside, I got this bin, and I was just freaked out because I'm thinking in my mind, I'm going, so this is how they come and snatch people up? Because when I was by the townhome, when it was over ahead of me, above me, it didn't have any sound. That's why I knew it wasn't a helicopter. I'm going, this is not a helicopter. There's no sound. There's nothing. And I'm like going, okay, this how you come up with abduct people? Because you just come down, and then obviously people in cars drive by and don't see them, even they got a bright orange light on them. They take off. So I'm like, this is what happens. They take you, and then you're gone. So here I'm freaking out, going, so where do they take you? Up. I'm like, because my rule's always been I don't ride with strangers, so I'm like, I'm not gonna get in a UFO with you. I'm not gonna get a car with you. So I was like, no, I'm not gonna deal with this. So, but I was freaked out the whole night. So, fast forward the next morning. Oh no, I'm sorry. I went on break, and then I sent the pictures to my wife, video to my wife, and I sent it to my best friend. I call my brother. I sent them to him, and which is a funny story because the next day he hit me up. He said, man, I was sleeping and I woke up. I saw those pictures and video. And I said, okay, this is a UFO. And this is my brother. He said, I know if he's sending this to me, he's like, this is real. But I sent it to them because I didn't want anything to happen, especially since the helicopters following me, and I didn't want, if anything would happen, take my phone or anything could happen. Footage. So I was so scared. So my wife got home. My daughter was still sleeping. Thank God. My wife left for work. I briefed her briefly, and then she took off and went to work. And so I'm glad because I immediately start pacing. I was still in pain. I was shaking. I was trying not to get emotional. I was pretty shook, which really threw me off because I've been in the hoods. I grew up in the hood. I've seen a lot of things, and nothing has ever shook me up. Used to spend my summers in LA. I've seen a lot of things, and nothing shook me up. Even though my motorcycle accidents, my car accidents, I nearly got killed in a motorcycle accident. That didn't even shake me up. I'm joking. I'm bandaged up. My arms are bandaged up, and they're taking me in the emergency room, which happened to be the exact hospital that Prince had he got a safe shot in. But I was in that same hospital after my motorcycle accident. But I'm joking on my way in because the nurses and doctors were talking. I went in, and I was like, oh, they got quiet. I said, oh, I must be really jacked up because you guys stopped talking. They start laughing. I start laughing. So I couldn't figure out what in this experience had shook me up. Nerve me. And so as you can see right now, I'm sorry I got emotional, but it still shakes me up because I don't know that experience, another missing time experience, the two times that I have, but shook me up. And so yeah, so that was that experience. Also that night when I went to bed that night, sleep, it seemed like even when I closed my eyes, I could still see the room. It's like the ceiling was gone. I could see the stars. I could see the night sky. It was freaking me out. I'm like, okay, this is weird. I can't sleep because I'm closing my eyes and I can see everything. I'm like, what is going on? So I meditated and tried to calm myself, and I might just calm myself down enough to finally just ignore what I was seeing, as if you fell asleep in the daytime with the sun shining through your eyelids. And so I slept, and so then it went on to other experiences. But that was a fireball orb at that time. And
Well,
Mitzi and I
thank
talked
you,
about it.
David.
Yeah.
Thank you, David, for sharing this experience. And I can tell that I can feel your feelings, and many people in our group have had some of those same feelings, not knowing what's going on. What is it? It's a new experience and it's scary. So I'm glad that you're sharing this with us. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Thank you.
So did you want to talk about some other experiences? Or did you want to show a video or pictures or whatever you're comfortable
so I
doing?
should probably show the video pictures and the video
Okay.
now. I'll screen share. Are you already ready for this? Okay.
Yeah, we're ready.
Okay. Okay, so let's see here. A lot of pictures up here. So that's when it was hovering above me. The first picture that I took. Okay, this is the picture when I was and this is after I jumped out. Can you still hear me?
I don't know if you can blow it up a little bit more.
I do not know how
I
to
see
do
the
that.
moon, and then I see a little dot.
Okay, I got a better picture. Is that better?
Okay, yeah, that's
You see that
better.
Okay, so that's the first one. Like I said, this one is when I was at the roundabout, and it first picture. I took two pictures. The first one didn't turn out. This one did turn out. This is what it looked like. This is when I zoomed in on the picture and screenshot this picture here. So this is the moon, and this is the object. Now, granted, it's going east to west, and this is the shape here. You can see it looks squarish at that point. And so, like I said, it was traveling east to west, no sound. I guess it's the bright orange here. And so, then I chased it. And then this is the picture that you see. That's what it looked like when I first took the picture. Here's the picture blown up of when it stopped, when I chased it a mile down, and then it was right above me. So this is the picture I took, which is absolutely different.
Yeah, it almost looks like dimensional, doesn't it? Look at
I would think, yeah. I mean, was saying that he thought he's calling it the bean shape because there's a bean shape here. But if you even look at this looks organic.
Yep.
Organic. So how it got from this to that, that's when you know you're dealing with something straight.
Yeah, definitely. So that's the story where you're going to work, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so, is this the one? Okay, and so now I'm gonna play the video. And so then after, this is when it took off. And I'm there, film it. I'm sorry, the sound, I got the sound up. There you go. It took off after it stopped and hovered, and it took off. And I thought maybe it took off because it was just traveling on its way. Then now I think at this point, I'm thinking that it took off because it was so low, dropping when I first saw it, when it came over the townhomes in the community center. It was so low. I think that it was avoiding the helicopters. And then this happened, and like you said, this video here is 39 seconds. So from 39 seconds from a stop right above the firehouse and the water tower, it went into the sky. And so it went, like I said, southeast. And it went into the sky.
Oh, most people don't always get pictures. and they don't get videos. So I always tell people when this happens, they want you to see it, they want you to acknowledge it, and to have the pictures and videos.
Right. So that was that. That was the ones that I got on that. So, and what was crazy about that too during that time is that everything to my wife, but we had cloud. We had, the iCloud. So I was hoping that everything would back up. Well, during that time, phone suddenly stopped after I recorded this. It stopped and it wouldn't, none of my stuff would download to the iCloud anymore. Wouldn't download to the cloud anymore. Nothing. So my wife's, we had the same phone. Her phone downloaded fine. Everything was good. And my phone wouldn't download at all. None of my pictures, nothing up to that point. It wouldn't download anything. So I'm thinking that I may have lost. I'm thinking, wow, what happened? I was really prepared. I kept this thing close to me as much as I didn't want to keep my phone anymore because I wanted to keep it with me because I was so scared I was going to lose the footage. Even though I sent it to my wife and my brother, I still wanted it for myself. And so someone said, you know what? Also, I didn't know what to do when I was running around, so I'd reached out to the National UFO Center, and so they hit me back and said, put it on YouTube, whatever. So, I talked to them, but I said, you know what, I got to find a way to make sure I keep this footage. So I put it on my Facebook page. That was a mistake, because people at work saw it, and of course, I got a lot of jokes and everything. People don't understand what you go through. But after an hour, put my pictures onto Facebook, everything started downloading to the cloud immediately. So then I was sitting there going, this is interesting. So was I being surveillance and monitored more than I knew? Maybe so. I don't know. But so yeah, that was that first experience. So
David, I want to let you know that occasionally your voice is going out.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
And I think it's when you get nervous and you stretch back.
Okay, gotcha.
Away from the mic.
I gotta look like, I'm sorry. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
No, you don't have to be sorry. It's people want to hear your story, and all of a sudden they're going ahead and going, what did he say?
Sorry. What did he? I'm sorry if I was unclear about anything. So yeah, that was into that first experience. And then the next experience was the downtown Rosemont experience where I was going to leave for work. I was getting ready for work, but I figured I want a burger. So my wife said, let's go. So we loaded our daughter up and we went down. And so then as we're leaving our townhome, I looked to the left as we pull up to, which would be 3 on Robert Street. I look to my left and I see him and I get that feeling, the sensation. My brain starts to hurt more. At this point, it was still hurting, but it started to go down. It didn't hurt as much anymore. And then it started hurting again. I'm going, oh boy. I'm like, they're to the left. She's like, what? I said, they're to the left. I said, go left. And so we went left. And I started, she said, you filming. So I started filming. And there were 3 of them. They were downtown Rosemont. And so they were up in the air. And I thought at this point, finally, but people are going to see this and it's going to be all over YouTube and people are going to take videos. I heard nothing. There was not a peep, nothing. I'm like, how are these people looking at this stuff? They're not taking any videos or pictures, not getting out of your cars. I'm like, it's right there. How can you not see this? But they didn't know it, as far as I know, or maybe they just figured, oh, I'm not getting involved in this. I don't know. It was just, I thought it was like my moment of validation. And I didn't have that validation, which was unnerving because everybody says, you got any witnesses? Well, yeah, I'm like, I had a whole downtown Rosemont. I got a whole bunch of people that saw this. Finally it's going to come out. There's 3 of them, and no one. And so no one said anything. But we looked, and as we were driving, so we were driving south, and so then they were in the sky right above where 42 and Robert 3 connect, and 2 of them turned bright red, and then one started to fall the ground, and you can't see it in the video. You're gonna see the video. I got the camera all over the place, and so busy going, oh my god, look at this. I didn't keep the camera still. I'm not a cameraman. So it dropped 3 smaller orbs falling. But it doesn't catch, so blurry, like it says an older phone, and I was in the car at that point. And we crossed. We could still see it like it was on the ground, but we don't know where exactly it fell because there's trees and trains and everything. And so we drove. I said, go back around. So we went back around to go to a parallel street. And as we went, we could see helicopter. But at the time, when we were pulling up, you see helicopters, planes were all over the place. Cessnas, a couple of Black Hawk helicopters, which I'll get into that story. But when we went back around, we could see it looked like Black Hawk helicopters were trying to chase one of them, and it took off and was going super fast, and it turned bright orange, and it was out of there. And so then we return home. I go to work. After work, I come home. I should say after that experience, immediately experience 2 halves of my brain, pain went down significantly.
So do you want to repeat
Almost to nothing.
Your voice went
Okay.
in and out.
Oh, okay. Okay. After that experience, after chased one of the 3, and we turned home, and I went to work that night. After I came home, morning. After that experience happened, both sides of my brain, the pain started to significantly go down. I didn't have as much pain anymore. And from there on out, anytime I saw them, I would have sensation in my brain, but I wouldn't have the pain anymore. After that experience where they were downtown. And so I thought that was really weird. But I went home, I went to work, came home that morning, and I was talking to my wife, and my wife said she had a really crazy dream that night. And I said, what happened? And she said, I had a dream that there were 3 large gray, or 2, sorry, it's 2, because we were arguing. I said, I thought she said 3, but she said 2. There's 2 large gray aliens in the room with her and my daughter. And I said, how tall were they? She said they were taller than doorway height, and their eyes were vertical. And she said she scared me because she thought that they were reaching and trying to get our daughter. And so she told me that story, and now I'm freaking out. Because up to this point, I had sensed the vibration came out, and we did the one came out to, we had talked, and you came around to see the vibration, the frequency in there. You could feel it was high, but I could sense that there was something going on, and the frequency and the energy was so high, and I felt like I could sense that not only the one that I saw, the orange one that we had talked about, but there was another presence there as well. And so when my wife said that, I'm thinking in my mind, is the orange or the one that's monitoring whatever the tall grays are doing? And I'm thinking that, are they coming to my family to give me a warning, to back off or just to come and see what's going on? So that was crazy, which really unnerved me even more. So now I'm like going, great. Now I'm dealing with something else, but she was convinced it's a dream. We pretty much just shelved it as a dream, and that's the way it is. But here's my wife that never had she didn't deal with UFOs or anything like that. Well, it's cool though. She did see the 3 with her downtown Rosemont, so that was cool. But she never talks about grays or anything. She's not interested. So she's into her reality shows and stuff like that. She doesn't watch science fiction. She's not into any of that stuff. So I think that unnerved her. And so we don't talk about it much. But yeah, that was probably the first entry that I had with anyone talking about grays that was close to me, because I had a revelation about maybe some grays when I had contact when I was younger at my father's house. So that was last year. So as you're
sounds pretty scary, David.
Yes. And so what I do believe is Florida last year. Sorry, I'm off topic, but we stayed at a friend's house, and I didn't realize the skies are hot in Florida. There's so many things going on in Florida. Oh my gosh, it was crazy. I wish I had my camera. I was like, I wish I had my camera. There's so many things going on in Florida. Florida's hot, and we were staying in Treasure Island at that time. But that night I went to bed, and we had a pulled out bed, and so when I'm looking at into this bed, I have a flashback of being back in my bed at my father's house in Minneapolis, and I can see small figures moving around me into my bed. I never had this before. I never saw it before. At my father's house, when I was younger, it was like 6 or 7. I always remember that before I went into my dreams, the ceiling would open, and I thought that's just the way you dream. And so I would leave. I would go through. I would go into my dreams, different dreams, lots of colors. I would say monsters. I would say that's where I had my horror dreams. I say monsters are coming to get me. I hated going because usually when I went through the ceiling, it's like, oh gosh, it's gonna be monsters, being paralyzed or feeling like I'm in the floor and there's people around me, but I can't see their faces. I don't know what they are. And when I would come back out of my dreams, I would come back through the ceiling. I would see my body laying there the way I would see my body, the covers and everything, and then I'd wake up out of my dream and I'd be like, but I thought that was just normal. I just thought that's the way it was. But I said, being in Florida last year and seeing figures. I've always seen shadow people my whole life. Mostly at my mother's house doing the paranormal stuff. That's when I would see a lot of shadow people and a lot of things going on. And so like people are moving around and you could hear them walking. The dogs, we had dogs, they would watch stuff going from the living room to the dining, they're watching, animals pick up on that immediately and stand up and start barking and growling like there's nothing there. They would see it. So ready that there was also someone or something in my room at that time when I was younger. And I don't know if they're grays. I don't know. I don't know what that was.
Okay, so we got a message from somebody that said the microphone he's using is part of his earbuds.
Yep.
Maybe you could switch to the Zoom because you used a mic on your laptop because it's going in and out.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
And of course, I'm not.
Is that better?
Oh yeah, better.
That better? Okay. I haven't done this before, so I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't want to blame it on the ETs or whatever entities. So it does happen. We've been through strange experiences. Remember, David?
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. We have definitely been through some strange experiences.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was the second time, the downtown Rosemont one. Let me see if I can screen share the video from that. Like I said,
Yeah.
it's chopped. I'll screen
Yep.
share that right. Let's see. Dark now. That's weird. Okay. Okay, so this is the first picture that I took. I can't zoom it in. I'm sorry. This is the first picture that I took when we were leaving the house to get my burger, and then you could see that's when I had my brain started hurting and I started to get the cold chills, and I could see that they were down on the left. That's a little bit of a closer picture, and this would be one of up here. This is just lights and stuff here, but this would be one of the lights once you zoom in on the picture itself. That's another side. I'll talk about that later. Where's the video? That's March. Let's see.
So this is the first time you've actually done a presentation to a group.
Yes. Yes,
so,
it is definitely the first time.
So finding all your pictures, not doing this before.
Well, I thought I was being good and putting it all in a
folder.
a folder so I can have it that way. It'd be right there, but I did not put it in the folder. Oh goodness. Okay, hold on. Okay, hold on. Let's see.
So why do you think you're getting the headaches then? Is that part of the communication? Or is that the vibrations that are happening? Or the pressure? What do you think that is?
I don't know. Um, remember we met with one of the friends or a lady that you would talk to from Wisconsin, and she asked when I was telling her the story, we are explaining to her the story. She said, "Was I scanned?" And you said you didn't think I was scanned at that
No.
point. And I'm thinking that for some reason, I believe it's interdimensional. The interdimensional part of it is the part that sets your brain, and that download for that frequency is what I believe. That's what I believe, because I've seen different videos that have given me the same sensation, the brain, the chills. A guy that used to deliver our dairy groceries, he showed me, he said he would see this blue orb bouncing around in the field when he passed by. He said he would take a video of it and let me see it. And immediately when he showed it to me, I had the same sensation. The white orbs that I see, the blue orbs that I've seen, that didn't show anything. Let's see if I can.
So when you get these feelings, you said that you start to get a feeling, start getting headaches and stuff. So then you know that something's up, right?
Yes, definitely. Okay, so I'm gonna play the video for the downtown Rosemont sighting where I was filming through the window. And this is just after, right here, when there was two of them. Here's the one right here. You can't see the other one. The other one's on the other side of the freeway over this way. Like I said, excuse me, I was so crazy and excited about what was going on that I didn't keep it on their way. But that's one, and there's definitely one here. And then there's one across the highway over on this side. And see all these cars and all these people. I'm like, hello, anybody gonna take a video? Anybody gonna? I figured, this is now it stopped and it landed, and then it stopped or was hovering. I don't know. And then it was flashing. But yeah, so that was a downtown Rosemont one. So that's why I said I don't know why people
Well, it's very true. One of our other members, we talk about people seeing things, and it's obvious to you, but then other people can't see it because it wasn't meant for them. It's right there. It's reality.
Yeah.
Other people, it's hidden too. So
To me, it's like, how often do you see something like that? Why are people? Why are they? Like I said, I figured it was like, finally, people, they see it. They see it. They see it. And I guess take your phone out, take video. I mean, like I said, it should have popped up everywhere.
So first time I met you was at a MUFON meeting, and Craig was there, and you did presentations. And I remember after your presentation, you had mentioned something about you didn't know who they were. And I only had a few minutes, and I told you they're the renegades.
Yes, that's what I couldn't remember you as renegades. You said they were renegades. Yes, yes.
Yep, and I didn't know where that came from, but didn't you come back to tell me a few months later you had seen a video or something? It was somebody that had mentioned the renegades.
Yes, yes. And I thought it was
Linda Howell was
Linda,
that
yes,
her?
Linda Moulton Howell. Yes, I thought that she mentioned that, and I thought, wow, that's crazy that you picked that up. And then she said that too, and that's why I said that's why I was wondering. Oh, at that time too, we're also near Umore Park, which used to be an ammunition area, and I heard that at that time they had closed it off. They had fences up and everything. And then I talking to people and witnesses, people I was trying to get to see if they saw stuff around, so that they thought that one of the kids that walks his dog said that he, in this certain area in Umore Park, he said he was up there and that a black car showed up, but it said ISS on the side of it. And he said they watched him when he was in there, and he thought he should leave. And so he left that area. So it was fenced off for a while. So I don't know. That's why I said, I think something's going on. We talked about it too in this area. There's also tunnels, I guess, that they use to ship in ammunition from our area all the way down to the St. Croix River. I guess there's tunnels that are underneath Rosemont, Dakota County, that they were running ammunition underground. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah,
Oh,
and I
also-
know you took me to an area one time that things had been going on, and I remember showing you all the different antennas
Mm-hmm.
from underground bases,
Mm-hmm.
and those were some of the areas that UFOs were also spotted.
Yes, yes. And that's you got a National Guard, you got like I said, there's a lot of Black Hawk helicopters that go around that are always around this area. And from that, the one I just showed you, the downtown Rosemont. So when I spoke to the National UFO Center, they said they wanted to see the videos. You couldn't see anything by email, so they said put it on Facebook. So when I put that on Facebook, that particular video, a couple of comments came through, and one comment said, "Hey, you need to stop posting these videos because what you're doing is hurting people." He said, "I was one of the," he didn't say Black Hawk. He said, "I was one of the black that was there during the sighting. And so you need to stop posting these videos." And so I'm like, okay. So I hit him back in the comments and I said, "So what you're telling me is you're one of the Black Hawk helicopters that was there during this incident." And I said to myself, like I said, I'm new at tech. So I'm like, I should have taken a screenshot. And I'm like, so I went back to take a screenshot and the comments were all deleted. There was another comment. There's two comments. They were there. And but one was like rude, and but I left it on there. But and then another comment, a guy asked if he could share my video on his channel. But the comments were gone. The comment was gone. When I said Black Hawk helicopter pilot, it was gone. And from there on out, I got buzzed a lot by the Black Hawk helicopters. One time, I was my daughter was sleeping. All of a sudden, the whole townhome complex, there's like 8 units per townhome complex, and the whole complex started shaking. And I'm upstairs to see if my daughter's okay, and I look out the window, and this guy across, I'll call him Jay. Jay was across the street, and he was smoking a cigarette. And I opened the windows open. I go to the window, I go, "Jay," I'm like, "What is that? Do you see anything?" He says, "I don't see anything," but he said it's loud and it's shaking everything. And I'm like, "Was it a Black Hawk helicopter?" He said, "I didn't see anything." He said, "I didn't see anything." He said from his angle, it could have been on the other side of the building, but it shook the whole thing. But anytime I even talked about anything or it, they always seem to want to buzz me and always want to, let me see. I was out raking the leaves last year too in fall. And a friend helped the guy that still lives over in those townhomes sent me a picture. I think I sent that to you, pictures of what he had filmed, which was he thought was the white orb going over still at that time. And but I hadn't posted anything. So I was like, what the heck's going on? But what I researched was a R-44, a P-44 helicopter went over my head. And I'm doing this, I'm raking the leaves and I'm looking at this thing. And he had it was a green helicopter, and he had a beige module on the side of it. I'm looking up, and suddenly he starts circling me when I'm raking the leaves, and I'm going, "Look, I didn't post anything. This is in my video. This is this guy's video. Like, why are you?" But that's when I knew. I'm like, yeah, I must be being monitored. They buzz me quite a bit. Cessnas too. One of the time, my wife and I were out, and I was showing the videos or whatever, and I thought they were maybe monitoring my phone. And so we were talking about it, and I had my phone out, and I was looking at the videos with her, and all of a sudden a Cessna was coming towards us, and he was coming across the park, and he started banking his wings like this. And then he went around, and then the Black Hawk helicopter came right behind him, and then they start circling us. And I'm going, okay, what is going on? I'm like, if you think you're going to shake me up, I'm not going to be shaken up, because I'm still going to talk about it. I'm still going to, post it. So, yeah. So
I remember you telling me that I want to talk about two things. One is the orbs.
mhm.
You're out there with night vision, and you could actually communicate with them.
Yes,
They told you something, so do you want to share that?
right. You want to go back just to go back to the I think it was a March sighting when I took you to the water tower.
Okay,
So also this is one of the orbs. Um, I was heading to work and it was off the freeway and it was heading east and it was low. It was like right across, like right above the freeway. And as I get off, I pull over to take a video of it. And as it's going across, it's like right next to the water tower. I mean, it's probably like it's right low and right next to the water tower. And when MUFON did his investigation, they said they investigated the fact that they thought it stopped and hovered for like 16 seconds from what they got from the video. That remember, I was like, I didn't know what was going on with that. What's going on with this water tower? Why would it stop and hover? So I went over there and I looked, and then you and I went to visit after I told you what I found is that at that site where that water tower is, it was a crash site of a B-52 bomber. And I'm going, so is this thing like letting me know that it was back? This was interdimensional beings. Is that what they do? Since they're always near water, is that why they if they're coming in and out of our dimension interdimensionally, the only thing that's not going to change is the demographic of the ground. I mean, the rivers, they're never going to change. Now the building and stuff may change, but if they do and come out, is it because that's a way for them to navigate our plane, our Earth? And so, but you and I went up there, and it's so funny because when you and I walked up there, Mitzi, and I was like, "This is what I found," and is that it was a crash site of a B-52 bomber, and you were like, "Yeah," and you said one of them lived. You picked it up immediately, and I'm like, I didn't read that on the plaque. I just looked and I said it. I'm not a detailed like that, and sure enough, we looked and we read it, and it did say that everybody perished except for one, I guess. Yeah. So that was crazy. That was crazy. But that, like I said, you get all these little, what I've learned is they may not directly communicate with people. Why don't they land and talk to you or whatever? It's like, well, they seem to communicate in different ways to let you know in their own way that giving you messages, you have to do some research and find out what's going on. Like that one was crazy. Yeah, that was crazy.
I remember one story you were telling me that you had communicated with white orbs and asked them about themselves. And the story you gave me was that they had been here before we were.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, they there's a few of them that were saying that's what I was getting, the energy that I was getting from them. I don't have the video for the one orb. I can't get it to download to this Mac, but one showed up, and that was definitely the message that I was getting, that they've been around a long time, and that's the way they communicate. But it's not out loud and verbally. It's just what you get.
Yeah, I call it the empath, or you get images or thoughts, and it's all one whole, isn't like a sentence, right?
Right. Yes. It's feelings and images, and just it's like you have to go back and stop and meditate, and you get stuff will start to come through, and it'll circulate. And so also they communicate. I do believe they communicate too, because I don't know, when I taught myself this, I call it time stamping. I didn't even know it was a thing. I just thought it was something that you did. Like I said, my father taught me to start meditating, doing astral projection, stuff like that when I was really, really little, 6 or 7 years old. And so I all I did was timestamp. So I take different events, different moments, and I timestamp. And so what I can do, what I feel is, a lot of times when I'm outside or certain events happen, I can feel when the timestamp, that the frequency of the earth or the time that we're in is paralleling to another time than the past. And so I can feel that energy. I'll be like, okay, that was 1987 or 86, or this happened, or I was in this place and I was time stamping at that time. And so I can feel the parallel. And so when you see the white orbs and the energy that I get, it comes through as time stamping. Like they let me know that, take you back to this time or that time, and I can feel that time. So that's another way they also communicate, to send like I said, it's different. I mean, if you think about, people don't speak the same language. If they don't speak the language, we assume they speak English, but they don't have to speak English if they can send you visual. energies or different ways to communicate with you rather than just speaking.
Okay, do you have any other pictures or videos that you want to share along with stories or?
So let's see.
I want to be mindful of you wanting to share whatever you want to share.
No, that's fine. This not everything that I'm showing you is I've already showed. Like I said, I put it on one of my pages or something. So let's see. Okay, so let's enlarge it. That's it. That was this was the water tower, the one we were just describing and talking about. Let's see here. That's once again, like I said, you can see how close it is to the water tower. It is like super close to the water tower. Okay, not for this. But
So
this
what
is
town was that in? What town was that in?
that was just going into Inver Grove Heights, right there off of 52 and 55 come together during the water tower. So this
Okay.
is the video that I caught. But I wish I could have caught it earlier, but I had to get off the freeway. And it was so funny because I'm driving to get off on the on-ramp, it's right there. It's like right there. I'm like, I wish I got it out. But yeah, so I was trying to zoom in and out. And so when I talk to anybody that does piloting or anything like that, I'm going, can they?
So did you get a headache at that time? Did you get feeling different?
Yes, yep. I got that time too. That's why I said that's whole time between 2017, 2018, 2019. Anytime they were around, I got it. There was a few times that I've seen them that I didn't have a phone on, my phone, and I wasn't recording. One time in particular, they were near the water tower, and I couldn't. This is I zoomed in the picture when I freeze framed it, and that's what it kind of looked like from when I zoomed in on the picture itself. It's hard to see, but yeah, that's the water tower. And I talk to people that are in navigation and piloting. They say you can't fly that close to a water tower. You cannot. And there's townhomes down here. There's homes down here. There's townhomes all up down here. You can't. And like I said, once again, there's that. But okay, so we'll go into the latest thing that this is 2019, but this is what I see all the time up to this day. So from 2017 and now, I've been filming the skies, and this is the kind of stuff that I see. And so because I have a newer camera, Sonics Aurora, and so here you see it's entering in. I have my own way of signaling them, which I'm not going to talk about because the last time I shared it for 2 months, nothing showed up for me. And so I'm thinking that somebody used the way I was communicating and they knew it wasn't me. So now you can see that it powers up. And I see that there's another, I don't know if it's a satellite or another craft. And I stopped signaling it and then to let it know that it was about to collide with another one. And so then it powers down. And at that time it was traveling west to east, and then it changes direction. And now it's traveling south. It's going south. So I'll go back and show that again. So
it's not a star.
That's not, yeah. So like I said, it comes in they usually, it's so funny because they're usually very, very bright, like they're trying to disguise themselves in satellites most of the time. And then when they see that I'm looking at them with my infrared camera, they power down, and then they power up to like, yeah, we see you too. Yeah, I know you see me too. So then it starts to power up, letting me know. And then it gets significantly larger and brighter. And then this one's coming in. And this is the kind of stuff that I see all the time. And this is what they do to me. And you can see that this one at that time went around. It went around that one.
And those are not planes, because planes don't go that high.
Yeah. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm filming now, that I see with my camera all the time, the same thing. And I see things that go over, they're super bright, super large, but if they don't communicate back with me, I don't even bother worrying about that footage because people be like, that's a satellite or that. No, I got to communicate. I got to see some powering up, letting me know that that's what you see. So yeah, but there's other things moving around the sky too. But I believe, like I said, a lot of things go over. There's something moving here. But if they don't communicate back with me, or if they don't power up, then I will just assume that they're just satellites. A lot of people are like, do you have a camera? I mean, a phone where you can like track if satellites? And I'm like, you don't have time. I don't have time myself. I wish I had an assistant. I don't have time to have someone or look on a phone and go, is this a satellite? And then take it out and record what's going on. You know.
So does this always happen when you go to work, or various, but most of the time when you go to work?
Most of the time, and a lot of times on my nights off, I'm outside. I work outside, and there's a lot of stuff going on. Like I said, I don't share how I communicate anymore, because like I said, I did that one time, and for some reason, like I said, they didn't show up for like 2 months. It's like it was like slow, and I'm like going, is somebody using the way I told the way that I can let on? I didn't tell everything, but I let on how I communicate. Are they trying it? And now they're showing me they're, like, no, that's not cool. So then I had to rechange how I do it and add different elements. And now, I'm back on again. They don't know, like, people know that watch the skies and try to do a UFO hunting. Sometimes you get hardly anything. Sometimes you get nothing. And sometimes you have to be out there for a long time, And what I wanted to really do was, man, I can't, like I said, I have to, maybe if I come on again, I can show you the footage that I got from South Dakota when I went out to visit my wife's family. I got one orb that was like right across the trees from me. And I wanted to share that so bad, but I can't get to my camera right now to download to the Mac, my new Mac. So, but yeah, but I've seen, if people want to know what I've seen, so I shared the white orb. Did we share the white orbs? Did we show it? No, we showed that before we got on camera, didn't we?
So you showed us before we started
Okay.
that one orb that ended up going really quick and looked like almost like a fireworks.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Did I do that?
So you haven't shown the group that one yet.
Okay. All right. Okay. So this is the white orb.
Yes.
This was in 2019. Let's see. Should I get volume down? Because I'm talking to the people then. Okay. So I was outside with my wife and our next door neighbor and her boyfriend, and we had a little fire pit out there, and so we're out there chilling. And so like 20 minutes after we're sitting out there, this white orb shows up, and that's me trying to hold my phone and trying to record it at the same time. I haven't seen them that close as of late. Not lately. The last time I recorded one was in 2021. And that also was on my camera, which like I said, I can't get stuff to download, but yeah. So this is the one we talked beforehand, Missy, the one that I told you. I sent you the footage of this on my phone, and I said, what did you get from it? You said they were taught, it was coming, the images and stuff were coming through so fast that you couldn't keep up. And the white orbs, as well as the stuff that I film in the sky, I usually have the push, or somebody's telling me to go outside. You need to go outside, go outside. And sometimes I'm so tired from work, I'm like, I don't want to go outside today. I'm tired. I want to rest. I don't want to be outside.
So this particular incident, you were right outside your home, right?
Right out my townhome, the old townhome I used to live in. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's
And
why
that's in Rosemont?
Rosemont. Yep. And so then, sorry, here I'm trying to go to the end of the block and catch it some more. Of course, I'm not paying attention how I'm holding the phone, but
So your wife and neighbor were with you?
yes.
So did
Yep.
they also acknowledge they saw it?
Oh yeah, they were like, yeah, and especially Ray, the guy that I was with. Ray was he was there, and he was saying, there it is. So yeah, but I haven't seen the white orbs since 2021. I'm not saying they don't go over, but they haven't been going over or around. I have a lot of videos of white orbs. Especially during the townhome time, I would go outside. So I've seen the fireballs, I've seen these white orbs, I have seen the blue orbs. when I first got my first infrared camera, I'm looking around, just going different parts. I'm looking around different fields and trying to see things. And it's one field where they were doing like a community agricultural thing. There was a blue light over there, and I could only see it in the infrared camera. I'm like, what is this? It's weird. And so I'm looking at it, and it would start to move back and forth, and it shut my camera down. And so I'm like, this is weird. And I couldn't get my camera to come back on or anything. I had to actually take the batteries out and put the batteries back in order to make the camera start again. And at that point, there's nothing. There's nothing on the SD card. I can't pull that back up again. That happened to me twice in that same field. Then the third time that I saw a blue orb, there was what we call like a fast mover. There's a black plane that went across it, no lights on or anything. It just flew across, and it was a plane. You could hear it, but you couldn't see it. No lights or anything on it. And as I'm trying to film it with my first generation camera, my first infrared camera, I look and there's a blue orb, and I'd say this one was probably about beach ball size from what I could get from it coming. It stopped. It looked like it was following or that plane, and it dropped down to the roof of the townhome across from me, and it was coming down the roof, but it looked like it was like something crawling. It looked like it was a ball, a blue orb, but it was like the way it was moving, like it was crawling, like creeping down, like something like a cat does when are you watching me? And it's like, yes, I'm watching you. And then my camera shut off. And then from that point to that SD card, I'm so mad. I'm like going, these are cool, but for some reason, the blue orbs seem to have the ability to shut down the camera. So that's the only 3 times I've seen the blue orbs.
So
Yes.
do you ever feel threatened by a blue orb, or do you feel at peace with them, or a non-feeling?
No, I don't feel like that at all. I don't feel like that. I don't feel like I have any feel. Like I said, the most terrifying time I had was the first one that was 20 yards from me. And at that point I was that, and we didn't talk about the missing time, but that's the time when I was scared. That's when that really shook me up, that I was really nervous. Like I said, that's when I was really unnerved, because I was like, this is how they take you. This is what happens. This is how they creep in with no sound, and then next thing you know, you're gone and nobody knows where you are, and will they bring you back or not? I'm like, that was frightening to me. That unnerved me, because it's like 2 people are coming through the roundabout and they don't see this thing, and then that's how they get you and you're gone. Oh, when I got out, that's so funny. When I talked to my best friend, Brian, my brother, I told him I stopped, and it was above me, and I took a picture of it, and I took a video of it, and it took off. And he said, "Are you crazy? What if it had taken you? Nobody would have known." It was really about that too. When I started filming the one that took the one that's 20 yards from me, when it took off and it flew away, I thought I was across the street, but when I got through filming, I was in front of my car, and the car door was while the car was running. I didn't even remember the car door was open. The car, but I don't have any missing time from that, because I made it to work on time. Like I said, I saw the helicopters. I made it to work on time. So, but he was so mad. He's like, man, what if they had taken? Nobody would have known that you got taken. I'm like, I wasn't thinking about that. All I thought about was, people always say, you got pictures, you got video, do you need proof? And it's like, okay. And then when you show them pictures and videos, people get real weird. When you do produce the evidence that they want, they get real scared, they get real weird, and suddenly they're going, well, yeah. And then you can tell that they make jokes of it, make fun of you, or they just retreat. And then you can tell that no matter what evidence we have, they go, why don't they show up and land in the backyard, or show themselves and whatever. It's like, why you people are still going to go back to your comfort zone, to how you feel comfortable and dealing with the subject. You're not going to embrace it, because it used to be in the 60s or whatever, in the 50s, when they show just pictures, like somebody's throwing a hubcap in the air and they're taking pictures of it. That's like, oh, it's a pinnacle of pictures. And so now we have videos, we have pictures, we have all this evidence, and people still don't want to acknowledge it or come to it. So I realize that people say disclosure. I think disclosure is for us, we already know the truth. Disclosure for them, I think it's going to be a slow feed, because I don't think people are they're gonna accept it within their own comfort zone. I think a lot of people don't want to let go of the reality, sort of like the Matrix. You know, they want to stay connected. They want to stay in the Matrix. They don't want to be pulled anywhere out of the reality, and so they stay in their own comfort zone. So you get different reactions. So yeah, so
That's a lot of wise words, David. Thank you for sharing those words with us.
thank you.
So are there any other stories you want to share with us? Any other experiences or wisdom or?
Well, like the paranormal part where people, I think it's interesting when a lot of people are trying to say there a parallel between the paranormal and UFOs, and the way I do believe there is a parallel is the fact that when you deal with the paranormal all the time, you have an instinct that there's things moving around or things happening, and you get that same sensation when you deal with UFOs. I think that the shadow people that I dealt with when I was younger, like I'll give one experience when I used to see them all the time. But the worst experience that I had with the shadow people was I was probably in 8th grade, 8th, 7th, or 8th grade. And so then I was sleeping in my bed, and the next door neighbors always had their back porch light on. They had a dog, and so it was always great because it was like a nightlight for me. Because I did not like completely dark rooms, because that's when the shadow people would show up the worst. And I did not like being in a totally dark room. My mother was fussing me about having lights on. You know, it was back in the old days. Turn lights off, you know, make the electricity bill go up. So I had to get up and go to the bathroom one night. And so I got ready to get off my bed. Like I said, the light is supposed to be shining through, and it was, but I couldn't see the floor when I got up, and it looked like fog. Like a fog on the floor, and I couldn't see the floor, which is weird. I'm like, you can always see, you know, your eyes adjust when you wake up, and you can see the floor. I can see the dimensions of my room because of the light. I mean, the window, I couldn't see the floor. So I got up and I got ready to walk to the door, and something came up out of the fog of the floor, and to me, it looked like a shark fin, and it chased me back to the bed. And so now I jump on the bed. I'm freaked out. I'm like, what the heck is this? And so then when I'm looking at the floor, I look over and I see two shadow people fighting. They're tussling with each other, and I'm freaking out because I can see the detail. There's obviously two human looking forms, but they're shadow people, and they're wrestling. So they're like tussling, they're holding each other, doing this, and I'm so freaked out. I jump under my covers, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? And I peek out, and I can see they were still there, and it happened for a long time. And so then I stayed under my covers and held my going to the bathroom until I started to see the sun come up the next morning. That I can get up and go to the bathroom, because I was like, it freaked me out. And so that was one of my worst shadow people experiences. Other than that, you've always seen standing in the doorways. You're watching TV, you can see somebody standing there. You get up, you go look. Like I said, the dog gets to barking. You know. So
there are different types of shadow beings. What did these particular ones look like?
They were all black, but you could just see the form of them, but they looked human, but you couldn't really catch the details of them. So it was almost like a black ghost, but it was like, you can see, like,
Were they tall?
They were tall. They were always tall. I never seen any short ones. Always see tall ones.
Did they wear a hat?
Never saw hat. Oh, that brings up the fact we talked about the Men in Black thing. Okay, so I'll tell you about that. So which I talked to my mother about the first experience I think that I had. My mother said I was like 4 or 5 years old, and we were at the Sears on University down there. She said she lost track of me, and she said she came to find me, and she said there was a strange man in black watching me play. And she said, and since my mother's psychic, she said she sensed that there was no harm to me, but he was very amused, and he just was watching me play. And she said he's all in black. She didn't say anything about facially. She just said he was a man all in black, and she knew that he wasn't supposed to be there. He didn't feel he wasn't a normal person. And so she said she looked at him, and he looked at her, and he smiled and nodded his head, and he walked away. And I'd say that was my first experience probably with the man in black. The second experience we talked about with my whole experience from the August to the downtown Rosemont thing was I was working one night, And I was only one other floor cleaner there with me. And I got a sense of, I should go to the door. I checked the parking lot to see what's going on. And so I walk up to the door and I see a black Chevy Expedition Suburban. It's a large, but the store is closed. It's been closed for hours, but this one parked way on the end of the parking lot. And I'm going, why would it park so far away? And so this tall gentleman is walking up to me, and he's dressed into like, I would say a SWAT type outfit, but it was more, which if you play video games like Black Ops type, and he had a hat on, and so he was a very large guy. And as he walked and got close to the door, I got this strange sensation. He said, this is weird. And he was like a robot. He just walked straight to me. And so I'm looking at this guy, and as he gets closer, I can see he has no facial hair whatsoever. His facial features are protruding. They're more definite than just a regular. I mean, this was all pronounced, his cheeks. I mean, he was just a dead stare at me. And so he walks up straight to the door. Like I said, I've been doing my job for 37 years in the grocery business. I've been doing this. I know every kind of drunk person, every kind of person that comes in the middle of the night, what's going to happen. So he walks up straight to the door, and he looks right at me, and he's just staring at me, and I'm staring at him. Now, usually when people come to the store and they want to know if we're open or not, they look and they go, is there a sign? Is there, why aren't you letting me in? If the door's open? He didn't care about that. He walked straight and he just stared at me. And I was like, can I help you? And he said, can I come in? I'm like, no, we're closed. He just kept staring at me. He said, can I come in? I said, no, the store's closed. So I'm sorry, you can't come in. And he's like, can I come in? And I'm like, why are you not hearing me? I'm like, the only thing you can say is like, no, you can't come in. And so then he breaks into this emotion where he's like, oh, I got to go to the bathroom real bad. Oh man, please let me in. And he turns from this strong to this, oh man, I got to go to the bathroom. Can you please, come on, man, let me in. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry, sir. You can't come in. The store is closed. I can't let anybody in the store. He immediately breaks from that, goes back to the way he was, robotic, no emotion, nothing, and just stares at me. And I'm like, and he says one more time, can I come in? And I go, no. And so then he turns around and he goes back to his car, and he walks back and he drives off. And I was shook. I'm like, okay, I've been in a lot of different areas and a lot of situations. I've never dealt with anything like that. Not my 37 years of being on my job have I ever dealt with anybody that was so. And like when you're psychic and you get stuff from people, I couldn't get anything from him. I couldn't get any kind of emotion. I couldn't feel the urgency of wanting to go to the bathroom. I couldn't figure out why he was there, but I couldn't get a vibe from like, the situation had me going, this is off, this is not right. And that kind of vibration came through, but I didn't get like you usually get when you're around, like, you walk into spaces, and it's hard for empaths when we walk into certain spaces, we like, oh, we got to leave, or, I ride a motorcycle, so I've been in different biker bars, stuff like that. And I'm like, it's time to go, it's time to go. And I leave. People will say later on, like, why did you know how to leave? I'm like, because I knew you could tell, you feel, if you guys can't feel what's going on. I'm like, you got to leave. So I'm always in tune. I always feel that kind of stuff. Like I said, I know when stuff, people that come into work and I have to let in the door, I'm usually there before they walk up, and they go, how do you always know I'm here? I'm like, something tells me to just go check. And I know. They go, you're freaky, man. How do you know? I'm like, I just know when you're walking up. I don't know. I'm not trying to. I'm just have a feeling that you're there. But yeah, that was like, I would say my second experience with, and I would say that would be more of a Man in Black, because not, I think all of them are going to come in trench coats, but that was definitely military black ops. It was just, like I said, and it didn't fit him. It didn't fit. It's like, what, you have this on, but that's not you. And like I said, it's no facial features whatsoever. I mean, no hair, totally bald. I mean, you could tell he's just clean, which I always thought was odd, because even some people have something, but it was like no eyebrows. No, so that was really weird. That was strange. That was definitely a weird experience. So yeah.
So you're saying you got the feeling. Did you happen to notice any feeling before the man came?
Yeah, that's the thing too, is like, okay, so growing up where I grew up, we always say, you can sense the streets, what's going on in the streets when things are going to happen. And I had that feeling that night too. I just knew it was like, this is not going to be a normal night. but I'm thinking, okay, some drunk's gonna come up, they're gonna try to come in. You deal with those all the time. You get the guys like, hey, dude, come on, man, let me in. I'll give you some money. I just want some bologna or whatever, a pizza. And I'm like, no, I can't. Like, okay, dude, I'm used to that kind of off kind of thing. Or just strange cars coming through and just being weird. But yeah, I had a sense that night. I did have a sense that night. And I would say too how sensitive I am. If Mitzi, you'll know this, and being how we are. Since the population of St. Paul, Minneapolis is so different and so high that you can feel the vibrations. River, if people don't know about the Twin Cities, there's a river that separates us, Mississippi. There's a total different vibration between the Minneapolis side and the St. Paul side. And when you're really sensitive, you can sense that and you feel that. The suburbs, you can feel it too, but it's like night and day. You can be on one side of the river and you feel a certain vibration of frequency, and you get on the other side of the river, you feel that. Definitely. But yeah, I did feel that night. I felt, but I wasn't expecting that. I was not expecting that. Which, once again, like I said, when the helicopter was following me back to my work, and now suddenly this guy shows up, I'm going, okay, why didn't you follow me that night? Why are you coming now? But just the whole, I don't know. It was just that. Can I come in? I'm like, no, like I'm not letting you. And he just stood there like it was like. And I didn't, and that's what I was waiting for. You wait, being in the areas I've been in, things that have happened, you always wait for something to escalate. Anything can happen, as we say, and can pop off at any time. So I'm sitting there going, is this dude going to smash the door? Is he going to try to force it open? He never tried to force the door open. He just stood up on the glass and stared at me in this blank stare, robotic stare, and just kept saying that. And then, like I said, he just went into that, can I go to the bathroom? He turned around.
Oh, I know that you've been around people that have used drugs. Drugs is prevalent in the big cities where we live.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So some might say, well, maybe the guy was on drugs. Do you think the guy was on drugs?
No, definitely not. He was in full control of who he was. And most people on drugs, they're not going to stand that long. And that's still, like I said, it was so still. And like I said, there was no breaking from me. The minute, it's like he almost knew that I was coming. That was weird too. Like when I was walking, like he was expecting me. It wasn't like he was surprised to see me. It was like he was expecting to see me walk up to the door, and he never broke. People on drugs, they will not break. He locked in on me, and he never broke eye contact with me the whole time. And I remember telling you that, and you said that what you got from him is the fact that he was scanning me to see what I know. And I was like, interesting. So he didn't really want to come in. He was just trying to scan me to see what I know. And I thought that was interesting. That was interesting.
Yeah.
And I thought, go ahead. I'm sorry, Missy. Go ahead.
Well, that's one thing I'm going to share with the group, that we're very close. We don't see each other a lot. But when we get together, both of our gifts magnify a lot. So we see a lot. We share a lot.
Mhm.
That's why I call you my brother, because we are so close. I
Right.
can sense when you're in danger.
Mhm.
Even when you were in the house before,
Yes.
when you were talking about people following you in the helicopters,
Mhm.
I had told you that it wasn't safe for you to stay there.
Right. Yes, I do remember you saying that. Yes, you were right. And circumstances worked out, and we did get out of it. Yeah, I was followed a couple of times too. Which is, now I'm not the person to follow, because growing up where I grew up, you are used to people trying to follow you. So I'm the wrong person. You get behind me, I'm already going, I'm like, okay, you're doing a lot of stuff. I will see, and I'll make certain turns, and right away I'm like, which I think everybody should do. I'm like, you're not gonna follow me. But yeah, that place probably wasn't a good place. And like the energy did change there. I mean, different people moved in, and that townhome in that area it got pretty it definitely changed. So it was definitely a good move to get out of there. Definitely a good move. I think one of the other experiences I guess I could give too is talking about being around different areas. So with my first infrared camera, we were in South Dakota as visiting family, and so then I was outside, and I thought I'd try to see what's going on in South Dakota, see if I could film anything, see anything. And so I did my communication thing. I didn't get anything, but as I was testing the camera, I sent that picture to you too, of a face that was there. And so I don't know if it was Sasquatch, it was, but it caught something which I did not see, which freaked me out, because I'm going, there's no lights around the house. I mean, you have the stars, but on that side of the house, and that is pitch black. You can't see your hand in front of your face. So how was somebody seeing me? I mean, unless you saw the light from the infrared camera, but how were you navigating that dark blackness like that with just your normal eyes? So that was crazy. That was freaky. And from that was the first time that I knew that you have to be really careful when you move around in South Dakota, because things can move up on you that you're not aware of. Because I've had deer when I've been out night watching, and I've had deer walk right up on me, and I had no idea. I didn't even hear them, and that freaked me out. I'm like, I'm looking at my infrared camera, and I look around, and I'm like, well, there's a deer sitting right here. I'm like, I didn't hear him walk up. I'm like, yeah. But like you said, the vibration, and you feel the whole feeling was like, the last time we were there that I did a lot of good recording, I heard some weird animal or something out there, and I was like, yeah. I'm like, there's something making these weird noises. So I'm like, from there on out, a few times I started filming from inside the house. I'm like, it's not safe to be out there. So then my father-in-law said he went out off the property a ways, but not too far off the road. And he said he found a femur of something that was of a deer or something, a large animal. And he said was really weird though. It was totally clean. Like it was like almost bleached clean. The bone was like almost was perfectly clean. He said he couldn't figure out why it was that clean and why it was that. He said usually when things, large animals, bear or mountain lions kill some, it's usually the bones are right off the road. They don't pull them way off. He said this was a lot further out than it should have been. And I was like, okay, that confirms the fact that, like I said, that I was like, I could tell like that was not the night. Those two nights particularly, I was like, I can't be outside. You're supposed to be in the house. You can't be outside. And yeah, so that was a freaking. So also in South Dakota, one of the nights I stayed there, I was awakened. I usually wake up like 3 o'clock. I was awakened, and I could see an image of something short, and I wouldn't say it was a gray, but it may have been something. It wasn't a shadow person, but whatever it was I was trying to see was using the darkness to cloud my vision from actually seeing the detail of what it was. And it didn't look like a gray. It looked like it was, but it was small. And I'm like, I'm trying to figure out, and I don't know if it was like a ghost. I don't know what it was, but that was freaky. That kind of freaked me out, and didn't bother. And then it disappeared. It left or whatever. And then the second thing that I had that happened to me in South Dakota was I was sleeping one night, and I was on a air mattress that was losing air. And so I knew, so I woke up again at 3 o'clock in the morning. And so then as I wake up, I'm freaking out because I have goggles on my face, and I can't get these goggles off of my face. And I'm trying to get these goggles off of my face, and I can't get these goggles off. I'm like going, what is going on? What's this on my face? Why do I have something on? It's like something like some kind of goggles on my face. What is this? And so I'm freaking out, and I look over, and I can see my wife and my daughter are on the bed. And so then I'm looking, but as I look around the rest of the room, it looks like a cave area, and it looks like a cave with beams, like steel beams in this cave area. And I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at these. I'm like going, what the heck is going on here? Because this should be the closets, and it's not. And I'm freaking out. I'm going, what is this? And I'm pushing on the bed. I'm okay. I'm awake. What is this? And so then I'm looking at this, and so then I'm thinking that, and it looks like they were on the side. Whoever, I think it was a remote viewer, which I think the South Dakota has caves, and they have remote viewers out there, because I know the Air Force is up. I think they have remote viewers out there, and they're remote viewing. And that, like I said, I had been out doing stuff, and I had at one point done my communication, and at one point I was using lasers at that time, and I know a Cessna had come over the area I was at when I was using the laser. And so then that, like I said, that night was when I had the whole thing. And so then as it started to fade, and the room started to fill itself back up again and look like a normal room. So it was like my daughter and them were fine, but this part of the room was all looking like if somebody was remote viewing, that they were back in a corner of a cave area behind like would be a stair type area, but it's like their own little part where they would go into the cave and they would do some remote viewing. And so then that was my question, was like, oh, so do they use some kind of a goggles to enhance the fact that they do remote viewing? So I thought that was a freaky thing that happened in South Dakota. So I've always been very I think South Dakota got a lot going on that nobody really talks about. I don't know, maybe people in here know more about that than I do, but yeah.
Very interesting story. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
In a way, that's kind of scary too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was crazy. And even like I said, once again, knowing you're awake and you're like, okay, this is weird. This is real
So what
strange.
woke you up at that time of the morning, do you think?
I do it all. It happens to me all the time. Usually around 3, close to 3. I usually can't sleep past 3 o'clock. It's usually I pretty I don't even look at the clock. I'm going, okay, it must be 3 o'clock. I guess I'm up and I'm seeing what's going on. And then that's when I'm hearing a few times I've been woken up at 3 o'clock by what I believe my wife calling me or saying my name. And I'm hearing it clear as day because she does it all the time. I mean, we live together. We've been together for a while. And I hear, and I'm like, yes, what is it? Okay, hold on. And I get up and I look and there's nobody there. And then I can sense something. Usually I can hear every place I've lived in my whole life, even my house I lived with my mother when we were growing up. I could always hear somebody walking around, always hear someone walking around. Townhome, here, everywhere I go. And usually when I wake up 3 o'clock in the morning, I hear something walking around. Even the point where I sit down and watch TV and my back's to the door and I feel like somebody, all right, who's at the top of the stairs? I can feel them. I turn around and look and I walk up. I'm like, okay, I don't see anybody, but I know they're here. Yeah. So, which I do believe is, like I said, the shadow beings, they stay hidden. I think they just know that I know they're there. It took a while for my daughter would always wake up screaming and holler in the middle of the night. And so I would tell her, I said, you got to put a nightlight on. I said, because we'd go in there to calm her down and she wouldn't calm down. I said, we can't have her. If it's totally dark, she can see them. You can't see them and she can feel them because she's like super psychic. And I'm like, you can't, her senses are, you got to have a light. And so ever since she put a night light in there, she's fine. She sleeps through the night just fine now. But her psychic ability, I shared this with you too about how psychic she is with the destiny thing with the whole statue. But also, before we moved out of our townhome, I took down the security system, and so but I was using a baby monitor to show the garage and everything. So I was going to tell my wife or text her and say, hey, maybe we just use a baby monitor to keep an eye on the house or whatever. We're not around. And next thing you know, my daughter brought down the security camera, the monitor for the security camera down, set it in front of me, went back upstairs. Now she's 2. She was 2 at that time. And I'm like, I had thought this. I didn't talk about it. Me and my wife hadn't discussed it. I hadn't texted her yet. I hadn't said anything. I hadn't said it out loud. And she brought the monitor, set it in front of me, and walked away. And that's when I knew she was highly sensitive too. Yep. And I knew all my daughters are. Yeah.
So those are very extremely not everyday experience that everybody gets. And you're experiencing these things. And it sounds like it's beginning to be normal. The unexpected is normal. So how do you cope with that?
It's difficult. It's hard to, as we know, as experiencers, to live in both worlds. It's hard because your experiences and living the other side and moving around people that are not experiencers is hard because you're not ready to be around them at that point. You just want to be in your experiencer side of yourself, and you can't be, and you're forced to be in an environment with people that are not that way. And that's hard. It's troubling. It's hard to deal with. I mean, you cope as best you can. It's hard though. It really is hard. It is very hard to deal with that. So I get through it the best way I can. It's hard. You don't find many people to share it with. We know this is a lonely road to walk. 'Cause not everybody can be with you every minute, and so you try to be strong about it. You try to find other things to distract you. I get in other stuff and try to distract my mind and just to stay out of it. But yeah, it's hard. It's difficult.
Well, that's why we have this group, because people have so many unique experiences. Some like yours. Everybody has different experiences. And like you, sometimes some of the experiences are scary, they're unknown. You don't know what's going on. Many in the group are like us, that they're empaths and psychics. They can feel these things. So I know that you have to work tonight, right?
No, I took it off just so I wouldn't be able to be here with you guys.
Oh,
If I did have to work, I'd have been gone already. But yeah, that's why you have a lot of meetings I can't join. But yeah, I took it off tonight because I wanted to be able to not have to rush out of the house and just be here and just talk with you guys and answer any
well,
questions.
thank you for doing that. That's quite an honor to do that.
I needed it because in the grocery business, the holidays are the worst. You just get beat up, and what you find too, being so tired and dealing with the two worlds you got to deal with, it's really hard to manage that when you're really tired physically and mentally. And so I needed this. I took the next 2 days off. I needed to get into my own space, and that's been depressing too, because you know how this, we have 80 inches of snow here now. It's been cloudy every day. I love seeing the night sky. I love the night sky. Ever since I was little, I've always felt like I've always felt more at home. People love the sunshine and the daylight. I do, but I love the night. The night is for me. That's when I love seeing all those stars. I feel like I'm at home. I feel a comfort. It's like, wow, let alone the world is still. The vibration and frequency is lower. And I love being out at the night. So not having any sky at night has been so depressing and just so, I can't wait till it warms up so I can get out there. And
So when you're with people, being a psychic and an empath, did you feel some of the vibrations of people around you? Well, I know you've said that a few times, some examples, but can you tell when someone has good vibrations or not good vibrations? And just like when the spirits or entities are coming in, can you feel these things among the humans as well?
yeah, oh yeah, definitely. You and I were in a meeting and we sensed that people that weren't supposed to be there. Now, I used to be a state representative. I was a president for a motorcycle club, riding club. We weren't a motorcycle, we were a riding club. Let me get that right. We weren't a motorcycle, we were a riding club. And so I was used to being around people that were supposed to be the presidents, vice presidents. So you know how they move in uniform. I wasn't a military person, but I know they always protect the person. There's always two people or more people that protect the most important person in the room. So when we had one of the meetings we were at, these three guys were in there, and one was he was a black guy, he was a man of color. And so we have a way we communicate when we see each other. It's just ways we just do. And this guy never gave me anything. And the guy in the middle, between the two of them, I could tell just the way they were moving that these guys were obviously military in casual clothes. Like, these are guys in our meetings trying to see what's going on and get some information. And I'm like, I sensed them like going, these dudes don't belong. But yeah, of course I got that right away. And so I'm like, and then
Yeah, so I want to let people know this was at a MUFON meeting.
yeah, MUFON meeting. I didn't know if I want to say that or not. I want to scare people from MUFON meetings. They're great places to be. Yeah. But and I sensed it right away, and I knew, I was like, these dudes are military, and I could sense, let's put it this way, the guy in the middle has seen a lot more combat and been in a lot more situations than the two on the end. I've been around enough people to know how those people move, and I was like, this guy is the one to be worried about. The two on the end are just there to be his backup to watch him. And so the way they moved, I was sitting there going, I know this. And so then later on, I talked to you and I said, Mitzi, did you? Said, yep, I see them. I can sense it too. And I was like, yes, exactly. I was like, they do not belong. They do not belong. And let alone at one of the meetings too, I think I shared that with you too. A guy was talking to me. I mean, people were talking to me, and one guy in particular was talking to me about he's seen the orange, the fireballs through the and how beautiful the orange light was and all that. We were talking, and this guy broke through and he was like, so where do you keep your pictures and your footage? And I'm like, at home. And he's like, okay. He's like, what kind of camera? He's asking me a lot of specific questions. And he's like, and he got demanding. He's like, I want to see where you keep all your footage and all your, I'm like, yeah, nah, no. I'm like, I'm not, he was once again, like I said, military, someone with some kind of authority to order people. So suddenly he was ordering me, and I'm going, Yeah, I'm like, nah. Nah, like, but I knew, like I said, I could sense right away. It's like everybody else here are experiencers trying to have a good time and be amongst each other. And he was straight business. And not only he was like asking me, he said, I want to know where you keep it, and I want to see where you keep it. I'm like going, I'm like, who are you? But he was not someone that was crazy or not in his right mind. He knew exactly what he was doing, what he was saying. So that was, but yeah, I've been in a lot of environments. Like I said, I've been in a lot of places, even out with my wife, and I was like, we got to go. This isn't time to be here. And something breaks out, something happens. That's why I said when I was the president and I was a state representative for the writing club that we were with, we go to different bars, different clubs to be there. And I would be like, okay, it's time to go. Next day, man, how'd you know? I'm like, I've been doing this my whole life. I've been to parties and stuff where I'm going, it's time to go, or situations where you go, or like, it's not a night to go out. Even my older daughters, I have two older daughters, and we go out to ride bikes at night because they like the night too. And they'd be like, tonight's not a good night. And they'd be like, you know what, Dad? Or they would hit it. It would hit them before they hit me. Dad, I don't think we should go riding tonight. I'm like, yeah. And then sure enough, you hear something happen, something went on. Yeah. So I have definitely got that from a lot of people. Different people. Now, I think what's interesting too is a lot of people that you're about, you often wonder how many people run around and speak telepathically, but don't say anything. And so I don't know if a lot of people do this. I do this. I'll see someone and I'll just get that certain energy from them. And I'll be like, hello, how are you? And I would say something in my head or something. They turn around to smile at you. And I say, so but I'm like, but you never see him again. You're like, who was that? But you just knew. And it's like, some people do communicate, but they don't say anything. So I think there's a lot of things, a lot of interesting things that surround us that we need to be in tune with and just pay attention to. But yeah, definitely. There's a lot of stuff. I think, even a crazier story is with the paranormal part. When you're around the paranormal, my mother's looking at a house. She's in a house now, but she's looking at a house before. And so we walked to look at this one house. And as soon as we walked in the door, I'm like, Mom, you shouldn't get this house. She goes, why? I don't even have to walk in. I already know we shouldn't be in this house. So we walk in this house and we're looking around. It's an older house. It's probably like it was from the 1960s. They hadn't done anything to it. And so we go up into this bathroom and the bathroom's totally redone, looking like something out of an MTV Cribs. I'm like, this doesn't fit. And I'm like, something happened in this bathroom. And I'm not liking the energy I'm getting from this bathroom. My mother's like, oh, it's beautiful. I'm like, Mom, no, something's not right. Something's not right in this, you're freezing up, Mitzi, but something's not right in this bathroom. So they were up looking around upstairs. So then I went downstairs. And as I walked past the basement, you could feel people that know the paranormal, when you're in haunted houses or houses that are thick, I call it a thickness. You can feel a heaviness and the thickness. And so when I walked by, I felt the thickness and the heaviness and the cold coming from this basement. And I was like, whoa. I'm like, this is not good. And so I was like, tell my mom, I said, we should leave. We shouldn't even look at this house anymore. And then the realtor lady's like, no, let's go look at the basement. So we went down in the basement, and we went down in the basement. There was a picture of a woman and a knife, and it looked like there was like blood. And so what was coming through for me was some kind of rituals were going on there. Some kind of probably chickens or something like that. That's the rituals I was getting from it. And I said, that's why the energy I was getting from that basement. Some kind of, maybe I would say witchcraft or something like that. And I was like, yeah, my mother's like, which killed me because my mother's so psychic. I would think that she would have picked up on it, but she didn't pick up on it till we went in the basement. She's like, whoa, yeah, we got to leave. And I'm like, how did you not know when you I felt it right away? So yeah, it's hard to move around when you're in different places. A lot of times my wife doesn't get when I go, we shouldn't go out today. We shouldn't go here. We shouldn't travel here. We shouldn't go there, because I'm like, I feel it. I just know. And I'm not trying to be, paranoid, but I'm just like, there's just sometimes I just know not to do it. Like I know sometimes not to go outside at night and look up, it's not a good night to go out, to look out.
So
yeah.
when you know other friends and family members who aren't psychic and an experiencer, your reality is different than theirs. Am I right?
Yes,
How
definitely.
can you compare that? I mean, you kind of touched on it. How is the reality different? And I guess what I'm knowing is you said a few wise words about that. Your reality and some of the reality of people in this group, what we believe, we see, what we hear, what we experience, totally different. And like you said, kind of touch base on other people really don't want to know about that. But I think you have some other stories to share about that with your experiences.
With family members and people like that and how dealing with them.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um, when I first started seeing these sightings and stuff like that, it was hard to talk to people because, especially family members, stuff like that, because they would listen because they love me. They would listen to it, but then you could feel them pull away. And a lot of them pulled away far because I see them during gatherings, but they overall, it's there. I always refer to some people as worldly people, and for those of us that are not as worldly, and so they love to move in the world the way it comes to them. That's they like, up is down, down is up, nothing, and they're going to color inside the box. They're never going to see anything outside the box, so, and I I get that, I understand that, but it's hard. It's just hard to deal with that. Try to talk to people and let alone family members. That's another thing that probably shook me up the most when this experience first started happening. Is that people that have known me for 30 plus years, they'll believe anything and understand anything that I said to them because they know how I am. I'm telling like it is. I don't reach outside. I've always felt a strength that I stand on my truth. This is the truth. This is what I go through. I'm not making up anything. This is the truth. And I stand on that. And I don't have to be feeling any certain way. If you don't feel a right way about it, this is my truth. This is what's happened. This is what happened to me. I'm going to tell you like it is. I'm not going to make up anything. This is the truth. And they know that. And they knew that in me. And this subject shook them up so badly that they had to pull away because it challenged everything that they knew. And that's why I knew that here we are dealing in a different type. It put me in a different place from being, oh man, this is my brother, my cousin, my family, my friend, and he's cool, to, I don't know if I can deal with him right now because I can't deal with this part of his life. And I don't know how to adapt. I don't know how to, talk to him anymore. I don't know how to deal with him anymore. And that part is probably one of the most shocking, but you get rest into that place of it and you understand how they are. But then it's just, yeah, that one. Yeah, there's been a lot of people like that. There's been a lot of people that, it's so funny. My wife too, we meet new people, new friends. She goes, don't you say anything about UFOs. I don't want to lose these friends. Don't you say anything. And so I'm sitting there like, I'm waiting. And so you can't help it. So you try to feed things in there. You try to give a little hints about, hey, did you see the Pentagon release stuff on UFOs? Because you try to see, what's going on. If they'll just feed it a little bit, just so you can give them something, so you try. And we do have two friends we met. It's so funny because their daughter and my daughter, our daughter, met at a Target, and they must have been sisters or something in a past life. They met each other and they played like they knew each other their whole lives. And so we're his and his parents just sitting there like, okay, I guess we'll just get to know each other. So we got to know each other. So then we went trick-or-treating that first Halloween. And so I see a UFO go over, but I don't say, I'm like, I look at it and I go, huh. I'm like, that's pretty cool. Probably just a satellite. And he looks up, he goes, that ain't no satellite. I don't know what that is. He said, I don't like what that is. He said, man, that's not no satellite. I'm like, I know it isn't, but I'm sitting there going, yeah. And he's like, yeah. He said, you know what really freaks me out is I always get worried about being abducted and being taken. And this guy, I'm like, he's worldly, super worldly, just the whole nine. And I'm sitting there looking at him going, if you can pick up what I saw and you knew, and you said the first thing out of your mouth is, I'm always worried about being abducted. I'm like, he's an experiencer and he's been denying it all this time. But him and his wife they don't talk about it, but they do ask me to say something if I seen anything, what do they do? Inquire, but we don't go into long detail about it. But I'm sitting there going, he sits back mostly and just listens. And he is so shaken by it. I'm sitting there going, at some point in his life, he was abducted or he's still an experiencer, but he don't say anything about it. So it's interesting when you meet those kind of people. But yeah, my
I
wife's
think we don't have as much shame and humiliation as decades ago, but there's still some tail end of it. And whenever people come out with what they've seen, and you've experienced, you said, but he says something, and all of a sudden, like that military man from the Black Hawk telling you don't do it because it hurts people. There's always little tidbits coming in that tries to interject and say, no, this isn't really happening, and try the truth and stuff. And then there's, I think you've noticed too, that are waiting for the disclosure moment for the government, and it's like our groups and the other groups we've been in, where the disclosure.
yes,
And I
exactly.
want to know your
Yes.
opinions on. I want to know your opinions. On that. What do you think?
On the disclosure part of it.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's complicated. And as usual, the government, if you're talking about the government, they're surfing it the best way they can in order to control our narrative. I love how they come up with the whole UAP thing. I'm like, oh, okay. So now you're going to try to take our word away from us. That's the first thing you do when you want to take away a definition of, or if you want to say a following of something, rename it to take the people that are on the fence or those people that are waiting for them to have the disclosure, change the name of it. And I'm like, no, that's why we have to hold on to UFO, because we know what. I'm like, what, UAP? No, that's not it. So that's fine. Those that use UAP that want to stay over on that side, go ahead. We know who you are. And those that do UFO, we will stay over here keeping our word, which identifies who we are. UFOologists, you see, like I said, they're trying to take away the whole definition of everything that we identify ourselves to keep a lock and a bond on our community. But yeah, the disclosures for us and for those that I think that want to be on board with us, that find a different way to find their path to us. Like people always ask about religion, and I always say people always find their own spiritual guide, whichever way it comes to them. Can't tell me that people have been in Brazil that never seen America or a Bible in their lives, or studying their own way of religion, is not finding the same source of a higher power, their own spiritualness. So I say people find their own way, and I say the same thing for us. As long as we keep as a community, stay tight together, stay directed, and deal with the disclosure that we already know the disclosure, because we know the government knows, but those people that are on the fence and those that don't want to do it, they're not there yet. And I'm thinking that if they can just get a little bit of whatever they need from them, that maybe it'll lead them over to us, and we'll hit them into what's really going on as far as the details and what's happening. So yeah, I believe the disclosure is just another smokescreen. It's just another way to divide and conquer. It's just another way to keep us looking like what, but in a way it was good because we say, finally, you can't not say that there's nothing in the sky, that there's nothing going on, that's swamp gas or whatever. We know there's more because there's too many cameras, too many people around seeing anything. So they had to come forward a little bit, but they too are still trying to change and go back to control the narrative, to pull us apart, and to keep people from going towards whether it be the fear part of it or whatever. But yeah, I believe we already know what the disclosure is. The disclosure, probably a little bit of disclosure for us, which is happiness, is that they finally had to admit it. They had to finally they couldn't say it anymore. I like that they let the fighter pilots and them talk about what they see. I've noticed now when I watch a lot of cycles, they're really pushing towards the fact that this is our technology, that we have more advanced technology than they're letting us know. And I know way back in the 80s, I've talked to different people, and they were always saying, whatever you see, it's 6 or 7 generations ahead of that. I'm sure you're 20 or 30 generations of that. But as far as interdimensionally and all the stuff that we know that get the defy physics, we know that they're going to get the technology and they're going to use it the best way that they can to use it to a way that they can use it, but it's not what they really have. Because like the craziest thing I ever saw in the sky was I saw a craft zigzagging across the sky. That freaked me out. I couldn't. I'm thinking if I had a camera, I wouldn't even be able to record this thing. It was zipping. It was coming. It was traveling south to north, and it zipped that way, and it zipped back this way, and it coasted just along like nothing was going, and zipped again, and zipped back again, and zipped. And I was like, okay, I've never seen anything move that fast, that controlled. And that's what I'm going, yeah, you can say you can disclose and you have that kind of technology, but you don't, because that is definitely letting you know that you can't do anything like that. That was crazy. That was insane. But yeah.
And that's not a drone either. Because a drone could not do that.
No. And I like too, when I showed the video I first showed with it took off and it was hovering and it took off and I filmed it and people were like, oh, that's a drone. I said, okay, we'll pull up the footage. What do you mean? I said, pull up the footage. I said, we got YouTube, we got everything. Show me that drone. Show me there's got to be footage somewhere of that drone. Show me. I mean, it's got to be somewhere. If it's a drone, show me that drone. Well, and I go, see, once again, people going back on wherever have them feel comfortable because they don't want to acknowledge the fact that this could be something else that they don't want it, that it's not human or not, it comes from another galaxy or dimension or something else. They don't want to go there. They just want to be like, no, if I say it's a drone, I feel more comfortable about weird things moving around in the sky, which tells you too, in my mind, it tells me too how strange it is because people get so weird about seeing unusual craft, UFOs or whatever in the sky, and they don't get bothered by a plane that goes over. You don't know who's piloting that plane. We know it's a Southwest airline plane that goes over. We watch it. We see it. We know it. We know you don't know exactly how many passengers in that plane. You don't know who's piloting it, but you know it's in the sky. It's a plane, but it doesn't bother them. But the minute you show them footage, you show a picture or something, they freak out. They don't want to deal with it. So I hope that answered your question that way. Sorry, it was long drawn, but yeah.
Yeah. So, so you talked about your daughters having gifts. Do you ever feel that, do you think that this has runs in families, these gifts? I know everybody has psychic gifts, but some have more.
Yeah, I know it's definitely generational. Like I said, dealing with the psychic part of my mother's side, my father's side, like he said, he was talking to interdimensional beings before when I was too young to understand it. I mean, like I said, a lot of people don't know. I was born in 1964, so I'm 58. So the whole hippie era, the whole nine. My dad was a straight hippie back in the day, so he was always that way. But in the dimensional thing, and I think his teaching me how to meditate and astral project and stuff like that. He knew that some experiences are going to happen this way. My mother and her psychic side and her gifts definitely translated to my daughters. The way I tested my two older daughters, we were playing Go Fish. Oh, it's Veronica raised a hand. I don't know what that. We were playing Go Fish, and so then I would, in my mind, tell my daughters each time it became their turn what card I had in my hand. And I started out my oldest daughter, and because I knew the cards they need, because of course the kids are showing you cards they can't. And so I would, in my mind tell them. And my oldest one was probably like 7 out of 10 times, but my second oldest one, she was 9 for 10 easily. And that's when I knew that they had gifts and they could pick up on stuff. Like I said, my oldest does tarot. My second oldest, she doesn't want to deal with that psychic part of it. My 7-year-old, she's just all in it. She's definitely she picks up and knows a lot of things. Like we'll walk up to people to say hi that I've known, and she'll hide away from immediately and be like, "What's wrong with you? Like, you're not usually shy like that." But there's certain people she just doesn't feel, she doesn't like that energy. She doesn't like being around those kind of people. So.
Okay, I know it's after 9 o'clock, but you said you had some time off. Do you want to spend a little bit of time answering a couple questions?
Sure, certainly. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, Veronica, got her hand up. Do you want to unmute yourself and ask the question?
Hi, David. Yeah, so
Hello.
a lot of great situations. Some stuff that you're saying, I'm also an experiencer, I would say somewhat relate to in some offshoot ways. So it's very interesting. I wanted to ask you, so the goggle story that you were saying, and you saw the cave, do you feel like you're able to see a being that was using remote viewing on you at that time of the night from a cave? I'm assuming so, but I wanted to just get clarification on that. But I also find it interesting that you can hear as though somebody calling your name, or I think you said like that, because that happened to me when I was 5. I had a strong first encounter when I was 4, then other stuff too before then. But that's when it really kind of took off. And when I was about 5, there were a few times when I honestly thought someone was calling out to me, and I woke up yelling, "Yeah!" and nobody responded. So that actually resonates a lot, very much so.
Yep,
So
yep.
I'm just kind of wondering the cave stuff.
The cave stuff, yeah, I could not see the person. It took me a minute to figure out that I was actually, I that's when I realized that obviously in remote viewing that they can view, but also the person that they're viewing, I think if they're psychic enough, they can see back, they can see what they're seeing. And so no, I could not see them. I could somewhat see that they were definitely tilted back in a chair. I could see the goggles. I said that's the goggles thing that was freaking me out, because I'm sitting there going, what is this? What is this on my face? What is this? I'm like, it was driving me crazy. I couldn't get this thing off my face. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, this is not supposed to be on my face. So I wish I could have seen who it was. I definitely wish I could. I didn't feel like it was not human. If you want to go from the empathic side of it, it didn't feel like it was human, but it definitely let me know that probably my first experience with remote viewing. I never even knew the term till I really started dealing with this experience and doing a lot of research and finding out what remote viewing was. I guess
Okay.
my father talked about.
But you could see what you saw what they saw.
Yes, I could definitely see what they saw.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
that's what I knew, what I was seeing when I'm looking around the room and I see the cave and the beams that are holding up those parts of the cave. So it was like a hollowed out tunnel or cave with beams and to keep the cave in structure. And I could see different, I don't want crates or stuff like that. I could see that this was an area that this person found, like maybe in a facility where they could just go back and just seclude themselves from everybody else and then do the remote viewing from that area. And I think the goggles thing threw me off, because I've heard a lot of people and a lot of the research talking about remote viewing, and I'm like, I've never heard anybody say anything about goggles. So I'm like, like I said, I know there's a lot of military bases in South Dakota. I've seen some F-22 Raptors take off. So I'm like, is that how they enhance their remote view? By using a certain kind of goggle or something that enhances that ability, maybe it's a little technology that they have that nobody else has. Yeah. So that's what I was getting from that.
Okay.
David,
Very
we have
fascinating.
another person that wants to ask the question. Harold, your hand's up. Do you want to ask your question?
Thank you, Mitzi. Okay, David, I just want to respond to some of your points. Grant Cameron, do you know that Grant Cameron started this group? He's our Canadian historian. Okay. He's into US presidential material, you know, which presidents know what, which presidents don't. So he just, I think, I don't know when, last year maybe, he said it's not about UFOs and extraterrestrials. It's about they want us to go up to higher levels of consciousness, to stop warring, stop destroying the planet. But your presentation was excellent. Lovely to hear about your family and all the technology. You could teach me a lot. Okay, you've already mentioned intergenerational, right? Yes. Because your father, great that he told you to meditate, whatever. And I think that they only show to you. They don't, that's why people on the highway didn't see it. It was only for you and maybe your family. Maybe you've been, I don't know, maybe you've been chosen to raise the level of, to help to raise the level of consciousness on this planet, right? So Yeah, and of course, you know that the UFOs, I mean, and you know, the ETs, they've come down, I think, on every nuclear place on Earth,
Yes.
whether they're trying to stop us from nuking each other. And I think also that you're being surveillance, because I think the US military, they want to know how these things fly, right? And they don't want any other country to know about it, right? I don't know whether they're calling the shots or these higher beings are calling the shots, right? And yeah, telepathy, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I worked in London, I came to Canada, and carried on working. I went to college and university for psychology and counseling. And then I'm retired now, so I teach online. I'm teaching remote viewing. I teach transcending levels of consciousness. Somebody wants some other group. I've got 7 groups. One other group wants to know about the history of UFOs. So I went back to the caves and right up to the Tic Tac. Okay. And then my near-death experience, because I was told your time's not up, you've got to go back and give out. Right. So David, I would say that you I think you're chosen. I'm in the knowledge book right now, and you know, this is all in the knowledge book, right? And we've got different groups in different cities, but I'm thinking, you know, you've been chosen to raise this level of consciousness.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you,
I
Carol.
think that's it. We touch what people we can to raise up their level of consciousness. You know, let them out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't drag them. You know, some people are ready, but the others, you can't drag them to where you are. It is just, it will blow their minds. I think it was like if we were taken somewhere, you know, I don't think the frequency and the vibration, we just couldn't take it because we're at a certain frequency. Right. But again, thank you, David. Excellent.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so
Well,
much.
we have a lot of people in.
We've got a lot of people now. Yeah. So that's it. That's it.
Right, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. We have
You're
a lot
welcome.
of people that are chatting in the chat line, thanking you, David, for giving your presentation.
Thank you.
The gifted person that you are. And our group wants to thank you for being here, taking your time out to share, you know, your experiences along with your emotions, bringing your heart out. And so Carol mentioned about Grant Cameron. He's going to be our speaker next month with Jim Pendleton.
Okay. Oh, nice.
You know Jim Pendleton.
Yes. Yep. Yep. I do. Yep.
Meeting. So those two are going to be speaking next month in our group. You're welcome to join if you want to. I know you work.
Yeah, I do work, so I have to figure out what day that is. Yep. But I'll try to see that. I like Grant. I like his theory. Wow. I like his theory of wow. I love that. I love his theory on that. I love that. It's so true. Yeah. So true. And thank you everybody in the chat that's saying stuff. I try not to. I'm like, hi. Thank you for your things that you're saying. Thank you so much.
So do you have any last words or stories you want to share with the group? I know you off.
If you see right here, I put this owl up here. I bought this owl because the owl was the UFO, I guess I didn't go into that. The UFO that was by the water tower, it followed me across the bridge the Wakota Bridge or something. There's a tie between the B-52 bomber crash and the bridge. Also our town where we lived at, there used to be a glass factory from way back in the old days. It was a glass factory. So there's some tying in with the whole war back then and the interdimensional beings that are going on around here. But after and it followed me to work, but I had to go into work. I could see it coming, but I had to go into work and I had to punch in. I went back out, it was gone. I was so mad. I couldn't film it because I'm like, I can't punch in late and then tell my employer, I'm sorry, I was late. I was outside filming a UFO. Yeah, that's not gonna fly very well. So I couldn't do that. So I was so mad. But after that experience, for the next 2 days going to work, I seen an all white owl sitting. I leave the roundabout. I go to this 2 roads, take a left and a right. And when I go right to get on the Robert, there's some trees right there. and there was a white owl sitting there for 2 days in a row. Now, in what I've been dealing with and progressing this phenomena, everything's been happening to me in twos. And the phenomena lets me know, and the UFOs let me know in twos when they really want me to see or know something. So for 2 days, it was a white owl. To me, it looked like a white barn owl, all white barn owl, but it was big. It was big. It had to be, it was a good size. It was a good size. But for 2 days, it was there. And I'm like, that had to be significant. And talking to you and other people, they say that's part of you were being initiated. That lets you know that you've been initiated into to what's going on. Oh, I didn't share that video without the one where there was one where I was going into on 494 near the Wakota Bridge, and I could see that there was an orange orb, and it came down and it hovered over an area we call Gray Cloud Island, and it hovered there. And I knew that's when I tried to figure out what was going on. And I told you about it, how we talked about Gray Cloud Island, Mitzi and I did. And I said, I wanted to go over there, like, because there's a lot of spirits over there, a lot of orange spirits, it's very haunted, they say, Gray Cloud Island. And I wanted to go over there, and you're like, don't go over there. You said stay away from that island. And seeing that UFO hovering over that, I'm going, yeah. So once again, the paranormal, dealing with the paranormal and UFOs, there's that connection once again. But yeah, I understood it, because I understand how you have to be careful around spirits and entities, because you want to make sure they don't attach themselves to you. So definitely. Yeah, so that's what the owl, I'm sorry. So that's what the owl was for, because for 2 days I seen that. And then when I had the missing time, my 10 minutes, I don't know if I went in the missing time, but I had a missing time incident where I actually I had one before that, but it was really hard to digest that one. But the missing time I had, I was outside refilming and recording, because I think we talked about this before we let everybody in the chat. I was outside filming everything, and at that time I was trying to log and journal what sightings I seen, what was going on in the sky. And so I always looked at the time and see what's going on. And I was looking at the clock, and so then I looked up in the sky. It was like a shooting star before came into view, stopped, turned, spun counterclockwise, and took off in the trajectory that it was going in. And then other things were going across the sky. And then I got flashed 2 times by something real bright, flashed me 2 times. And I'm like, okay, that was weird. And then I got real discombobulated. I didn't feel right. I felt like I had an energy drain. But this all happened like, I was keeping track of, and I looked at the time, and I lost 10 minutes. And I'm like, whoa. I just turned around, seen this stuff, looked back at my phone to, keep track of it, because and I lost 10 minutes. And I'm like, okay, where did 10 minutes go? I'm like, this is weird. 10 minutes, but at the same time, I'm feeling drained. And then I'm feeling something's telling me to go in the house. Go inside now. You need to go in the house now. And in the background, I can hear an owl. Ooh, ooh. And I can hear this owl. I'm going, why is there an owl over here? I've never, except we moved from my townhome to the house we're in now, and I've never heard any owls over here. So that was just odd, but it was so prominent. Like, somebody's telling me to go inside, but this owl is also, I'm hearing this owl. And so then what I'm seeing, when I'm visualizing that there's something around the corner of the house and it's a dark figure, I can tell, like, I'm in danger. I need to go in the house. Something's not right. And so then I go in the house, and I am drained. I'm completely drained of all my energy. It's like, if people that know about the paranormal part of it, you can get into going to certain houses or certain areas, or even in your own house, where portals will open and they're energy draining. It will drain the energy out of the room and drain the energy out of you. And it was sort of like that, but it was totally different. I was drained like that. And so I barely made it into the house, and I barely made it downstairs. And I remember sitting on the couch, and it took everything for me not to, I was trying to stay conscious, but I couldn't. And I passed out. And then I woke up and I wrote everything down, and I was just like, that was crazy. And that was my first time that I had of missing time. The first time I had before that, I was outside trying to look around, and I felt like I stopped and everything got still, and the cricket stopped chirping. And then I suddenly, I knew something was off, and I felt as if I was partially lifted off the ground, but then I felt like I was dropped, but it didn't seem like anything had happened other than I know the still got real still, the wind stopped, the cricket stopped chirping, and I'm standing there, and it was empty field at this point. They hadn't built anything on it. And this was right over where the one I saw that was 20 yards from me that went over. It was right in that same area. And so I felt like I was being put back on the ground, and I thought, okay, that's weird. But I don't wear a watch, so I didn't have any concept of whether I had missing time or not. But I still had the same kind of feeling like something happened, something's off. That's another fact I need to say too, was that during that time after the UFO went over the townhome and I chased it and everything, I remember one night I was out going for a walk, and in an exact area on that community center, I looked up, a craft came and it was going across, and it stopped, and it went clockwise 3 times in a circle above me and the townhome, and then it continued on. And that's another one instance where I'm like, God dang it, I wish I had a video camera so I could record that stuff, because I don't always take it with me, because sometimes I just like to, it can be, when you see them so much, it gets addicting to just want to have to film everything. And then every now and then you just want to go out and embrace the night that I love, being out watching the stars and seeing the night and all that. And that was another thing that messed me up too, when I saw the UFO that was 20 yards from me and then chasing everything. And and I was scared and terrified to go out and at night and to see stuff, and worried about being abducted. Because people also say, man, you've seen them so much, you know what that leads to? It leads to abduction. I'm like going, well, I don't want to be abducted. I don't want, even though I probably think that I probably was when I was younger. But that's the thing that disturbed me the most, is that I like, it took away my ability to just look at the night sky and just be what's the word I'm looking for? Innocent to it. You know, you don't realize what's up there until you're like 20 yards from something and it's right there with you. You start seeing them all the time. You don't realize, maybe to have a level of fear or just the consciousness. And it just, every now and then, I just don't want to be tied to the camera and trying to film everything. I just want to just go out and then just enjoy the night. And some things you see don't always have to be recorded. You just want to just enjoy and say, hey, you know, this happened. Some, you know, fireballs went over, or shooting stars or something like that. You know, like I think I texted you one night where this long shooting star went over. It was blue, and it went across it came in bright as heck, and it left a blue streak all the way across the whole sky. And I'm like, I texted, I was like, Mitzi, did you see you outside? You see that? I said, this thing was huge, and it went across. Oh, here's a childhood thing I should have brought up. I didn't mention too. I was in 4th grade. My cousin, one of my cousins and some family friends, they were like cousins. We were all playing hide and go seek. And so what you do is when you try to find, we had the neighbors across the street from my aunt's house, there's a tree stump. And you go hide, and then we play. When you grow up in, like I said, I'm from the 60s. When you grew up in the neighborhood, you could only, when the street lights come on, you had to be home. Now, if you weren't home when the street lights came on, you had to be within shouting distance, and they had to be able to look out the window to see you and know you're there. So you could only, we played at 2 houses, and we played at the house across the street that had a tree stump. And so when you find somebody, you got to not only, you got to find them, but you got to catch them and tag them before they get to the tree stump, before something happens. So I'm not gonna mention her name, but she said I could, but I'm not gonna mention her name. She was the last one, and I had a crush on her. I really liked her. But anyway, so I found her, and I was chasing her, and because everybody else was on the tree stump waiting for us, and it was probably like 4 or 5 of us. It was different. I'm not gonna say the names, but I was chasing her to the tree stump, and when we got to the tree stump, a white light descended upon us, and it kept, and it wasn't just descending, it descended so hard as it came, the light got brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter, and it chased, and we all got on the ground, and we're all looking at each other going, what's going on? What's going on? And it lit up the whole backyard, and we were just freaked out. And we just laid there, and then it was gone, and we're all sitting there like, what just happened? Like, what is this? What happened? And so we get up and we're all looking at each other and we're like, well, I'm like, we're going to go inside and let alone we're looking around to see if anybody else, anything that bright. I mean, the houses, in St. Paul, the houses are right next to each other. I mean, something that bright, that is going to, the whole neighbor should be out. What happened? Is the house, is there a house on fire? Is it, nobody nobody even moved. Nobody said anything. We went inside. My aunt, who's usually in the window, she was right there. We go inside, check the news. We think a plane crashed or something happened. Did you see anything? Turn on the news. She's like, get out of here. There's nothing going on. I've been watching you all night. Ain't nothing been going on. There's nothing going on out there. I didn't see anything. We're just like, which made even more the mystery to what happened. And so if I get regressed, that's one of the moments I would want to go back and try to figure out what's going on. Because me and my cousin talked about it for many, many years. And I think that he was probably, I know he's a smoker, so maybe he went through some kind of, I'm thinking hypnosis or something to maybe cure his cigarette addiction. Because now the last time I seen him, I said, man, and I told him what was going on with me with the UFOs and stuff like that. And I said, remember that incident? He said, I don't want to talk about it. I'm like, you don't talk about it? We've been talking about it since he's a year older than me. So I was in 4th grade, he's in 5th grade. I'm like, you want to talk about it? He said, I don't ever talk about it again. I'm like, which made me even more curious what's going on. Now I've talked to the other girl that I chased that was there. I asked her if she remembered anything other than the details I just told you. And she said she doesn't remember anything. So I'm thinking if that's just another one of my childhood experiences where something happened and we were engulfed in white light for whatever reason. And like I said, being so young and a kid, I can't tell you if there's missing time or not. I don't know. It was just weird. That's one of them crazy things in my stories in my life that was just way out of nowhere. But yeah, so.
Okay, well, we've gone over our time
Okay.
by almost a half hour.
Okay.
You are welcome to come back again.
Thank you so much. Thank you.